On Tonight with Bruce Whitfield, we do our best to blow you away, and provided we're not blown away this evening on the show, we'll do our very best. We really will. This is Tonight. I'm Bruce Whitfield. We're talking about the South African property market. We're talking about commercial property, in particular shopping centres. My 6-year-old driving around the other day looked at a construction site and promptly told me there were too many hotels in the world, there were too many offices in the world, and he hoped there would be shops, in particular that there would be toy shops. But South Africa has one of the highest densities of shopping centres on the African continent. Dirk Prinsloo is the Managing Director of Urban Studies. He's a consultant to the construction sector. Do we have too many shopping centres, Dirk?
Bruce, I think your son was right, because we're bringing out Emily's from the UK as the big toy shop. So yes, we adhere to his request.
Well, you see, if you keep my son happy, the world is a much better place. But in serious terms, I mean, you've done research which shows that we have got something like nearly 1,800 shopping centres in South Africa. It seems disproportionately high.
The question about saturation, I've been asked that almost on a daily basis. If you go back to 1975, I read the first paper about saturation in the retail market in South Africa. That was repeated in the 90s, and now once again it's repeated in 2014. To a certain extent, for certain types of retail facilities, the smaller neighborhood shopping centers, yes, we in most cases oversupplied. You'd often find a neighborhood shopping center on 4 different corners, the one with a Checkers, the one with a Pick and Pay, the other one with a Spar, and the other one with a Woolworths. I think that market is reaching saturation in the suburban market. Immediately, if you go to that same type of shopping facility in the township areas, it's not saturated. A very important other point is the fact that if you look at regional shopping centers, and I'm talking about the big regional shopping centers we all know about, most of them keep on growing. They keep on growing because there are more people within their catchment area.
One just has to look, for example, in the background here, there is the Sandton City Tower undergoing a massive refurbishment. It's owned by Liberty Properties. They have spent in the last 5 years, I don't know how many billion rand, expanding this shopping centre, which when it was built in the veld, people thought that Donnie Gordon had gone mad. 45 years ago, he starts digging a hole in, there was a riding school back here, there was farmland over here, we could pick fresh peaches, where Old Mutual's about to build a massive tower. And that's the point, is demographics tend to catch up, don't they, with property. Property's got a lead.
There are mainly 3 things, and the Sandton City is a very good example because we all know the advert going back to 1972. But most important, a lot of growth has taken place around Sandton City, and so in the Cape and in Durban and in Pretoria, all your metropolitan areas. So that's the first reason why shopping centres, and especially the regional shopping centres, keep on growing. The second point is that your retailers, the guys like Woolworths, Game, Pick and Pay, Dis-Chem, are doing so well in those regional shopping centres that they also expand internally.
Well, what's the drive, though? I mean, one looks at urban sprawl, and Johannesburg's a great global example of urban sprawl, and we've seen development go out in corridors, and almost the first thing that happens is a shopping centre happens, and then housing development happens around it. That's been a driver there, but those shopping centres are not built until there's a commitment from a Checkers, a ShopRite, or a Pick and Pay to go there to become the anchor tenant. Yeah,
you actually need 3 things to build a good shopping centre. The first one is a very good location. Secondly, you need enough people, and thirdly, you need people with money. So once you've got that combination, you can start building according to the profile of the people living in close proximity to that particular shopping centre.
You were talking about the low density of shopping centres in township areas. Soweto is such a great example of this. We've got the massive Jabulani Mall, of course, in Jabulani, which is part of Soweto. And you've got the Maponya Mall, which is just as you go into Soweto near Baragwanath. These are 2 phenomenal shopping centres that have got all of the big brands in them. They don't feel particularly crowded on any given day, though, when you go there.
Especially if you go there on weekends, they're very, very busy. I'm so glad those centres have been built in Soweto, but there are also other centres in Soweto, smaller centres of 15 to 30,000 square metres, and they're all serving a local community and they're doing quite well. But as far as Soweto is concerned, there's still an outflow to shopping centres outside the township into the metropolitan areas, either the CBD of Johannesburg, Sandton, Cresta, Eastgate. So people coming from Soweto tend to shop quite often and quite wide, but they do support their local centres.
Does that suggest that the local centres aren't providing what people need, or is it an aspirational issue?
It's aspirational, it's an outing. The quality of what you get in Soweto is very good, so people will go there for convenience, but for an outing and a trip to Sandton, and we all do that, they'll come here.
You're not going to find Louis Vuitton, Gucci and Cartier at Jabulani Mall, but you'll find it in Sandton City.
That is exactly the third reason for the regional shopping centres expanding. It's the overseas companies coming into South Africa, and the best example is Zara. Everybody is looking for Zara and everybody wants a Zara in their particular shopping centre. But very successful is the trading by Cotton On, H&M probably coming soon.
Cotton On has been phenomenal. I mean, Cotton On, I think it's Australian.
It's Australian,
but
yes.
But there are 200 outlets in South Africa. That happened very, very quickly.
The most important is Cotton On is very, very popular amongst the young adults, the older children, young adults.
I have Cotton On stuff. I'm young, not you.
Okay, but you probably go for Louis Vuitton.
No, not quite, but yes.
But a very popular store. We're in the same hemisphere, so our seasons correspond, and price and style and ambiance of the stores are just so attractive.
But what's so interesting, I mean, you talk about Zara, you talk about the foreign brands. When one sees, and one of the great tragedies, I suppose, of 21st century shopping centres is the local mom and pop shops are getting booted out. You look at the boutique nature, for example, of the Hyde Park shopping centre, which is owned by Hyprop, Sandton City, which is owned by Liberty Properties. The landlords are dictating who gets the space. Shops that have been there for 30 years get nudged out so that the single brand stores can come in. It's clever management by the landlords, but it makes you feel like you're in this great international space. It's a little bit soulless.
Unfortunately, we sit with a limited number of retailers. So whenever you build a shopping centre, you put in those and you've got a centre. And that's why the smaller stores are giving the flavour of the month. They're not always trained as retailers and operators, so they need a lot of assistance from the shopping centre management side as well as from the landlords to take them by the hand and say, but you're the guys that make my centre a little bit different.
So do we have too many shopping centres?
In some areas we do have too many, and I've alluded to the fact that the neighbourhood shopping centres, we've got more than 700.
But they need to be clever, don't they? I mean,
they need to be clever.
One looks I'm looking to talk about the northern suburbs of Joburg a lot, I know it well. Dunkeld West as a shopping centre, for example, is one of the most awful architectural monstrosities ever to grace Johannesburg. However, the owners of that particular centre have been ingenious as to who they have placed in there in terms of making it relevant to a community, and that's what local shopping centres have got to do.
It all comes back to that specific tenant that you put into that particular shopping centre, because that is driving the centre. It's attracting the people from outside the normal catchment area, and then therefore they can survive, and they're doing very good business. And Dunkeld and Dunkeld West are very good examples of small neighbourhood centres with a different tenant mix doing extremely well.
But it is about boxing smart then. It's about landlords not sort of throwing up their hands in horror. People have created these mad lifestyle centres and realize actually in order for a lifestyle centre to work you probably need a KFC in there as well. Then the fabric shop gets crossed because their fabric starts smelling of chicken. It's that sort of dynamic which in the shopping centre space feels a bit petty, but that's really what the driving forces are.
And everything is all about trying to bring customers back to the shopping centre, to give them that extra experience that they are not necessarily getting elsewhere. 10
years ago we were told by now we'd all be doing online shopping, that Sandton City would be an aquarium. You wouldn't need to go to Sandton City because you would go tap, tap, tap on your computer and everything you ever needed in the world would come. You'd never have to leave the high walls and safety of the sanctuary of home. It hasn't happened in South Africa, to the great relief of shopping centre owners, no doubt.
But if you look at online shopping in South Africa, the amount spent on online shopping for shopping centre products is about 1%. But if you look at the UK, it's already about 15%. So there, the online shopping is becoming a threat. There are vacant stores and people have to close.
But isn't that the long-term threat here, or even medium-term threat?
I don't think so, because what you need to do is to create a multi-channel strategy. That is where you use the internet, the smartphones, the laptops, the in-store purchasing, all combined to give you that better shopping experience and that better excitement to come back to the store. And nowadays you get click and collect. So tonight I can order a bunch of flowers. Tomorrow morning I can collect it from the store in Sandton and I can give it to somebody that
deserves them.
That
deserves them. There we go.
So
you've got to be careful how you play that one. You've got to be careful how you play that one.
Yeah, I was. Very important worldwide how people are realizing that multi-channel or omni-channel is the way forward, where you bring everything together, and I must use the cell phone, the laptop, the iPad at home, as well as going into the store whenever it's suitable, and enjoy my shopping experience.
So, I mean, your view there in South African shopping centres, do we continue to see development? Do we continue to see the growth? Or do we see a specialisation, a consolidation, a focus?
People refer to bad economic times, but all the centres that we see around us going up, and as well as the renovations of other super regionals and regional shopping centres has been planned 3-4 years ago. So in 2010 we realized, okay, the World Cup is gone, we're going to have continuous growth. We start planning, and that's what you see today coming out of the ground. So it's not that if
is the pipeline for the next 4 years good?
The pipeline for the next 4 years is very good, with a new Mall of Africa coming on stream, a very exclusive shopping centre in Midrand between Johannesburg and Pretoria, with a lot of international brands coming in there. So yes, there is competition for this one, for Sandton City, and that's very important.
A little bit of competition is never a bad thing.
Not a bad thing at all.
Dirk Prinsloo, thank you very much. He's the Managing Director of Urban Studies. He's a researcher in the field of shopping centres. You may feel that you're swamped by the shops and the shopping centres. Then do your shopping online, and let's see whether or not the trends will change. That's been tonight from a very bright Johannesburg, a breezy Johannesburg. We weren't blown away. We hope you were. Good night.